So my dear friends, it looks as though the Book of Boba Fett is getting a season 2, at least according to a new screenshot from a Spanish version of Disney+. Now, I was trying to find the origin of where this came from, and after some digging, I found out it's actually from an Argentinian Disney pamphlet. They list all of the upcoming series and which season we're on for each. For example, it says The Bad Batch Season 2 coming soon, The Mandalorian Season 3 coming soon, Obi-Wan Kenobi now streaming, and so on. And for the Book of Boba Fett, it says Temporada 2, muy pronto, which means Season 2 coming soon. Now, some people are taking this to mean it's confirmed, but we've got to bear in mind this could just be a placeholder card for a possible second season, rather than an official confirmation. But then again, we've got to bear in mind plenty of Star Wars news has leaked from international versions of Disney Plus in the past. At the moment, the American, Canadian, European, and UK versions of Disney Plus do not have this displayed, but we do have D23 coming up as well as San Diego Comic-Con, so an announcement for a possible second season could be upon us. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, then you'll know I spent a good amount of time breaking down the various ways Season 2 of Boba could go. We've spoken about bigger syndicates, higher stakes, but the biggest thing I want is the badass Boba back. Season 1 suffered terribly from a lot of things, primarily the show not knowing what it was trying to be. It failed to establish Boba in any concrete way, which came across as rather confusing and out of character in the eyes of fans. Jon Favreau plenty of times has said he was trying to base Boba on Don Corleone, but the writing was confusing because that version of Boba lasted for maybe 2 or 3 scenes and no more. And then you factor in the fact that Tem had a lot of ideas for the show that were ignored. He had issues with the direction, the script, the dialogue, and while you might say he's just an actor and should leave the directing and writing to Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau, some of his feedback, which he has been vocal about, should have been taken into consideration. A brilliant example of this is when George Lucas worked on the original trilogy. He took a lot of feedback from the actors, in particular Carrie Fisher, and by the time of The Empire Strikes Back she had made so many modifications with Harrison Ford, the movie would simply not be the same without those alterations. The actors tend to know their characters, and to be honest, every single time we've heard Temuera Morrison give an interview where he explores ideas for a possible second season, it always sounds so tangible and definitely something a lot of fans want to see. But the best thing in my opinion about the Book of Boba Fett getting a season 2 is that the creatives can learn from the mistakes of the first season. Now don't get me wrong, season 1 of Boba was groundbreaking. In many ways, it's the Attack of the Clones of the TV show world, in the sense that it did things that had never been done on TV before, and the visual effects team in particular deserve every bit of applause. Their work was phenomenal, and even within the story, there were moments of excellence, and that's the frustrating bit, because I can't just come out and say it was a mid-show. There were some moments that were truly captivating, and it's those that make me personally crave a second season. There is a lot of potential there to expand this into a killer story. And if it overlaps with The Mandalorian Season 3, I hope we can look at the Book of Boba Fett 2 or 3 seasons down the line and say despite its first season, this show turned out to be incredible, and first seasons are always a bit clunky. The Mandalorian's the only exception I can think of, where it did things perfectly to a T right from the outset. But fingers crossed we do get a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, an announcement could be nigh. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now just one final point on the Book of Boba Fett. It's worth pointing out that back when Mando Season 2 ended, Jon Favreau said they'd already begun working on Season 3. But if you recall, that ended up being for the Book of Boba Fett, but they were using the placeholder name of The Mandalorian Season 3, and all of the actors believed it was for Mando as well. In reality it was for Boba, and Mando Season 3 didn't start production until much later. And I bring this up because recently, Jon Favreau said he's already writing The Mandalorian Season 4, but for all we know, history could repeat itself. He might be calling it the next chapter of The Mandalorian, when in reality it's for the Book of Boba Fett Season 2, and as some people are jokingly saying, The Mandalorian Season 3.5. That's just my theory though. And so now, my dear Mandalorians, let's talk about Skeleton Crew, yet another series set during the Mandoverse, first announced at Star Wars Celebration. The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Lucasfilm are set to spend $136 million on its first season alone. That is pretty damn gargantuan, and if it's going to be 8 episodes a season, that's $17 million per episode. To put it into perspective, that is the highest budget of any Star Wars TV show aside from The Mandalorian Season 3. Having said that, the budget for the Ahsoka series is unknown. Now, at least 15 to 20 million of this is going to be set aside as Jude Law's salary. But as for why the budget is so high aside from the casting can be explained by the use of CGI. They're probably going to go all out for this one, and if this series, as some people speculate, is Disney's attempt to rival Netflix's Stranger Things in the streaming game, then a large budget needs to be implemented, no two ways about it. This series has often been described as Stranger Things in space, so it makes sense if they're copying that model, they would use a lot of CGI, and of the highest quality of course. The series is set after the events of Return of the Jedi and sees a group of 4 children lost in space. In my recent Everything You Need to Know About Skeleton Crew video, I speculated on what these kids are going to be up to, who they are, and why it matters if they're Force sensitive. And one or two folks pointed out that this could be the show that introduces us to Jacen Syndulla in live action, the son of Hera and the late Kanan Jarrus, who first appeared in the Star Wars Rebels epilogue. At this stage he would still be a child, and would fit right into a series about Force-sensitive children exploring the seedy underbelly of the galaxy. And speaking of the Syndullas, Hera is poised to make her live-action debut in the Ahsoka show, as teased by the Celebration exclusive footage. And speaking of Star Wars Ahsoka, Making Star Wars have confirmed that Darth Vader is in the show. Not only this, but we're likely going to see a live-action recreation of the famous duel from Star Wars Rebels in Twilight of the Apprentice. Making Star Wars say that Vader is going to be in at least one significant scene, and Tom O'Connell, who played Darth Vader for action sequences in the Kenobi show, is going to be playing him exclusively. We know Hayden's going to be in the show as well, but that's likely going to be for Anakin as a Force ghost, or Vader in flashbacks if he's helmetless. And as I say, if they recreate the scene from Rebels, then obviously when his helmet is slashed, we will see Hayden beneath. They add that Dmitris Bivstrevsky has not been asked back. He was another stuntman for Darth Vader in the Kenobi series, and after some public financial disputes, he's not been asked to return, but they were told by their sources that he's a great guy to work with. But the lowdown is more confirmation that Vader is indeed in Star Wars Ahsoka. And so finally guys, an interesting question. Are we ever going to see Luke Skywalker again in live action? I put this out in the community tab, and the options were The Mandalorian Season 3, the Ahsoka series, a possible Book of Boba Fett Season 2, As a Kid in the Kenobi series Season 2, or Never Again. Interestingly enough, 54% of you said the Ahsoka show. I would definitely agree with this, and I think Dave Filoni teased at Star Wars Celebration he wants to tell the story of how Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker met. By the time of the Book of Boba Fett, they were already familiar with each other, and as his elder, Ahsoka was like a mentor figure to him. We all want to see the genesis of that relationship. So 54% voted Ahsoka, 29% of you voted The Mandalorian Season 3, 10% said Never Again, 5% said Kenobi, and 2% said The Book of Boba Fett. Personally, I don't think we're going to see him in The Mandalorian ever again, but the Ahsoka series is a sure bet. If you didn't vote in this poll, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. When do you think we'll ever see Luke again in live action? If, of course, we do see him again. And speaking of Luke Skywalker, we do have a preview for the upcoming Star Wars 28. Here is a preview of the cover. Of course, this is between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, when Luke still had a yellow lightsaber. Between the events of Bespin and Episode 6, he wielded this blade. I'm loving the artwork for this. It kind of reminds me of Luke's Imperial disguise from the Expanded Universe Rebellion comics, and here they captured Mark Hamill's face absolutely beautifully. So share your thoughts of this guys and everything else we spoke about in today's news update. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and as always, if you want more videos not found here on YouTube, then check out my Patreon, the link is down there in the description. But until the next one guys, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, have a good one.